So my name is Louis, man. I appreciate
John.
you having us.
Nice to meet you.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for the camera, where you train at?
Okay. My name's John Roy, and I'm one of the co-owners here at Tabula Rasa Jiu-Jitsu.
Nice. And you're how long have you been a firefighter?
I've been a firefighter for 10 years.
Okay, awesome. So what was your you said you're the owner here?
One of the co-owners. Yep.
Awesome. So how long have you been grappling?
8 years.
8 years. Okay.
Yep.
And that's pure jiu-jitsu?
Well, I did a little bit of MMA, but after like 2 or 3 years of doing MMA, I was like, I like jiu-jitsu more. I don't really like getting punched in the face.
I feel that. So what was your inspiration to, first get on the mats?
When I was growing up, my dad was way into UFC. So like we watched all the old UFC events, and I always loved the strikers, but once I tried striking, I was like, well, that doesn't really gel with me, right? But for whatever reason, I really took to the ground game. So after I started training at an MMA gym, I was like, I really like jiu-jitsu. And that was kind of where I really started just exclusively training jiu-jitsu.
Nice. And that was all out here in Colorado?
Yep.
Nice. Awesome. So in, training MMA, because that takes a lot of discipline.
Yep.
And to get to the point that where you're at now, co-owner of this beautiful jiu-jitsu facility, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, a lot of ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons, to get to this point where you're at now. Is there anything that you've learned that you can kind of take over to the firefighter, to your career as a firefighter?
Yeah. I would say the biggest lesson for me, and this is something that I've taken over the last couple of years, is that ego is the enemy.
Ego is the enemy.
So, as you start getting older and you're doing jiu-jitsu, you end up going with guys who are maybe more athletic than you, stronger than you, faster than you, right? And all that experience that you have sometimes can't keep up with those young guys. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes in the fire service, as we start to get older, we think that we can still do things the way that we used to, or we start getting complacent.
Yeah.
And we don't look to develop ourselves or change the way that we do things just because we stick with our old ways. Mm-hmm. And really what that is that's ego, and another part of it too is not exposing ourselves. So, guys, once they start getting older and the young bucks start beating them, they start shying away from rolling with young guys, rolling with people who are athletic, right? Well, that's an ego thing. And the same is true in the fire service too. A lot of old guys don't want to learn the new methods. They don't want a young buck coming in the fire service and telling them how to do stuff.
Right.
And that's how we grow.
Sure.
And you look at the sport of grappling in the last couple of years with guys like Gordon Ryan. It's catapulted in terms of skill and experience, and the same is true in the fire service. We're always getting new techniques. We always have new ways of doing things. And if you have an ego, it gets in the way of you getting better.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I feel that. And so, you being the co-owner of this facility, you're in charge of a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that look up to you. You're a leader. And so camaraderie is very important, in this jiu-jitsu gym. How important is camaraderie, as a firefighter, at your job? How important would you say camaraderie is there?
Super important, because we live with each other a third of our life, so we're there for 24 hours. There's times in the week where I see my crew more than I see my wife. You know what I mean? Like just how the schedule falls. So camaraderie is super important. We have to know that we can trust each other, and we have to know that we can perform too.
For sure. Awesome. And so, there's firefighters who maybe are kind of on the fence, I want to try jiu-jitsu, but I don't know, or maybe they don't know about jiu-jitsu at all. And what would you kind of say to somebody who was here, that was kind of interested, but, didn't really know?
Yeah. Well, first I would commend the people who came out who have never done it before, because the reality is when you come and do a combat sport, it is intimidating.
Yeah.
If you've never done it before and you're stepping on the mat for the first time and you're like, oh crap, I might get beat up today. That's a weird feeling, right?
For sure.
So I commend the people who came out today who have never done it before. But I would also say to the people who have never tried it, a lot of the times I think it goes back to the ego thing. Like we're a very type A career. We consider ourselves to be tough guys. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But that shouldn't stop you from doing something like this, because like we talked about today, this is really an extension of a peer support group in the sense that we can work through some of our mental health issues just by getting out here, getting, some of our pent up aggression out in a healthy way, and bonding with each other.
Yeah. And even laughing, there's guys out there trying to choke each other, but then after they're smiling and, shaking hands, hugging. And yeah, man, it's a beautiful experience. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys having us out here.
Of course. Thank you.
It's been great, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks.